Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily medicine transmission for February 18th, 2021. The Sun has entered Pisces, and it is time. It is time like it is every time of the year, regardless of what hemisphere you're living in. You're either coming towards the end of winter or you are coming towards the end of summer. And this is a moment where we are starting to offer ourselves up to the collective. The 12th house is the settling of accounts, is it not? And the first degree of Pisces is really about bringing all that we have harvested to the market, right? It is time to bring it to the collective, everything that we've worked for, everything that we have done over the course of this last year in this cycle. And it is time to start offering ourselves and everything that we have cultivated to the collective process. And this is why this is a balancing and the closing of accounts, right? Because there is no getting past the 12th house when it comes to rectifying our karma and merging with everything else. And when it's time to bring your harvest to the market, there's no going back. You got to bring what you got. And if you harvested garbage, you're going to have a crappy time at the market. So, but there's no getting around it. And so 12th house and Sun, it's a difficult time of year because we do have to come to terms with everything that has happened throughout the course of this cycle. So, 12th house Sun people, there's a couple notable ones. And if you have a 12th house Sun, then your fulfillment of who you are in this lifetime and your expression of the self is very much wrapped up in the finishing of unfinished business, in the collective karma, and like I said, an offering to the collective as a means of settling things, right? So one very notable sun in 12th house person was Rush Limbaugh, who just passed away yesterday. 12th house Sun in Capricorn. So again, his fulfillment of his personality, the expression of his self throughout the course of his lifetime was really funneled into and focused on the collective karma. And a 12th house in Capricorn, and the Sun in Capricorn in the 12th house, oh man, 22 degrees Capricorn, the general defeat, accepts defeat gracefully. Rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh. We're going to look at his chart and on a BitChute exclusive in a little bit here, and just talk about some more things that have to do with astrology and relating to this individual. But another notable person with a 12th house Sun is Joe Biden, with his Sun in the 12th house in the last degrees of Scorpio. Ooh, boy. When you have a 12th house Sun, you are offering up yourself to the collective karma in some way, shape, or form. Unfinished business, and it's an undoing a lot of times, depending on what's going on in your chart. And with late Scorpio, that shadow coming to light. So, but today the Sun enters Pisces for all of us, and we are now in a position where we are offering up who we are, our expression, everything that we have cultivated in our expression, our personality, our spiritual fulfillment over the course of the year is now being offered up to the collective and come to market. So this is interesting times, and we have the first quarter square tomorrow with a Gemini moon. So the end of the first quarter of this lunar cycle that started with a new moon in Aquarius is going to reach its culmination tomorrow. First quarter square is a crisis in action. What are we going to do? So there'll be lots more to talk about with that in the coming week's astrology in another video. Today, though, we are talking about the intuitive messages and transmitting that message to everyone in order to get a better sense of maybe how to go about our day and how to maybe make a little bit more sense of the energies that are impacting all of us. It's interesting how all of this stuff really unfolds. So I hope you're doing well, taking very good care of yourself. The moon is still in Taurus. This is why I'm still in my onesie. Total comfort here. And it's interesting to have a sun come into Pisces where the moon is getting into late Taurus now. And as much as the moon is exalted in Taurus, it feels at home in Taurus. It's not at home, but it definitely feels at home in Taurus, right? We want to nestle in and be comfortable. And Taurus is about survival. And it's about the cultivation of the ego consciousness within the world around us as well. And so there's an interesting play here, this dynamic where we are starting to express ourselves and be pulled into the collective karma with the sun in Pisces, but there is still a strong emotional, intuitive, and very personal urge to focus on our own survival and focus on what allows us to feel comfortable, what allows us to feel safe and secure. And there's a sense of wanting to protect what our worth. And so it's an interesting dynamic for today. There's still a lot of fixed square energy because the moon in Taurus, fixed Earth, is going to square all of this Aquarius. It's going to square Jupiter, going to square and Venus, going to square Pallas Athena as well. So there is still this sense, especially with Jupiter and Venus, expansiveness and sensitivity to the collective consciousness, the energy, the future, the way that we're all connecting, and especially in a digital sense, but how we connect, each of us being a node in this network. There's still a lot of focus here. Mercury coming to a standstill in Aquarius as well. So there is a sense of, there is some tension still here with where we are at emotionally, again, with survival and feeling safe and secure and wanting to protect our own worth. But at the same time, there is what comes along with that is a faith in the natural cycle. For as much as Taurus is about survival, material possessions, material worth and value, and wanting to protect it and to feel secure, it's also feeling secure in the natural cycle. And so in a sextile to Neptune in Pisces today, there is an opportunity to harmonize here with where we are going, to trust this process, to trust universal law and source, and that everything is set. The table is set for us when we get there. And that it's really about having faith in this process unfolding and allowing ourselves to feel safe and secure in that as well. So let's get right into the reading today, because there are some cycles ending. There's some cycles ending, which always means new beginnings, and we are setting the space for these new beginnings. Okay, so let's look at this reading for today. Let's minimize this here. All right. So as you can see, coming into the moment, the 10 of Wands, in the heart of the moment, the 10 of Discs. Both of these energies are culminating. They are the end of a cycle. And our meridian of power here has much more to do with harmony and balance. The 3 of Forces, the bird's nest, the 15, the muse, 1 + 5 is 6, the inspiration, that Pisces inspiration. That is the benefit of Pisces, for as much as it reinforces the victim mentality, right? The martyrdom, and the losing of self, really, when we start to bring ourselves to the collective in the form of a commingling. For as much as that is, it also provides the opportunity for inspiration, for spiritual community to practice and feel compassion and forgiveness and universal love. And so there is a lot of opportunity today as well as we go into this Pisces time. And then we have our, where are we headed here? Well, the Lovers. Isn't that nice? The Gemini card. And to keep in mind that Pisces and Gemini, these are mutable energies. They're malleable, they're shiftable, they're adaptable, they're changeable. We can have a lot of impact on how these energies express themselves by way of interacting with them. It also, again, means that there are very little boundaries here, and that we can feel lost and we can feel unsettled. And with Taurus being this fixed energy, Aquarius being this fixed energy, we are kind of in this period right now where we are dancing around these things. And so there's part of us that's feeling very fixed in certain aspects, and there's part of us that is starting to move into this mutability. And what are we bringing to the table? I mean, that is really, especially with Neptune, the table might be set and ready for us, but what are we bringing to the table? And the Sun in Pisces is setting the tone for that. And this transmission today is really about, what are we bringing to the table? And are we setting the space for ourselves to be fully devoted to the next step, which is really about what the Lovers card is. It does represent actual people coming together in a lot of ways, but number 6, the Gemini card, it's about the devotion. So let me get my notes here. We're going to go through this piece by piece here. If I can do this without knocking everything over. I got so excited to do this reading today that I didn't even get my notebook out. Okay, so let's go for it, guys. 10 of Wands. Here we go. Oppression. Saturn in Sagittarius, the 10 of Wands. So there's a suppression, there's a restriction coming into this moment. I think we've all been feeling this. And what happens when we push down our transformative fire, our will to action, the friction that allows us to alchemize whatever situation we come across. What happens when Saturn starts to force its way down onto that? Well, the fires become uncontrollable and they become destructive because they will find a way to express themselves, okay? The benefit of this card is that the cycle of this transformative energy that the wands represents, the fire, is coming to an end. And oftentimes it's our own doing that is suppressing our transformative fire. We have built up too much. We have overloaded ourselves with all of this energy, and to the point where we can't even really be free anymore because we've built up so much on top of ourselves. And so there is a chance here to learn from this and to release our own restrictions as we come into the moment. Now, there are other restrictions too that are imposed upon us. Saturn is form, Saturn is structure, Saturn are the Capricornian institutions, right? The governments, the corporations, all of the large, the economy itself, all of these large institutions that we have to collectively create together, coming and providing a burden and pushing down something that is meant to be free. So this is the energy coming into the moment, and it's a release point. It's time to see where the overbearing structures are in our lives and not allow ourselves to necessarily, destructively burn uncontrollably as a result, right? Because that's what happens when it's pushed down and pushed down. It'll find other ways to be expressed. And maybe this is just a matter of releasing these these oppressive forms ourselves, and so we can begin the cycle again. So one ending of a cycle, and in the heart of the moment, here's another ending of a cycle, the 10 of discs, wealth. Now, this is, it's so interesting to come from that cycle of restriction and then come to this where it's like, well, we've also accumulated so much material wealth. This is where our richest potentials unfold. So in some ways, is it that we are being restricted and oppressed, or are those situations the situations that provide the deep wisdom that we can teach from? There it goes back to our new moon again. In Aquarius, overcoming our passions, that is a fire energy, overcoming our passions to teach from a place of deep wisdom. Now, we do feel oppressed, but perhaps this oppression and restriction I'm not suggesting that it is something that we should value necessarily, especially if it's not imposed, it's not self-imposed. But even if it is, perhaps this is the wealth that we're accumulating, and the richest potentials are unfolding based on all of the challenges and restriction that we have probably placed on ourselves and on our own fire, right? On our own ability to transform, because we keep piling and piling and piling stuff. Okay. We are in a position now where we have to make space. We have to make space in order for new things to come in. And perhaps all of those lessons are the wealth that we have accumulated. And we're realizing that the cycle is complete. Another 10, the amount of material gain that we have brought about. And perhaps this will be what allows us to actually release that which is no longer serving us and causing restriction of our transformative fire and our will to action, and the friction fire of Sagittarius that allows for alchemy and understanding. So the richest potentials are unfolding at the heart of the moment here. So these are two cycles that are coming to fruition, culmination, and then turning back over. Now, when it comes to our meridian of power, right here is where we're consciously aware of. This is the zenith of our power, the 3 of forces. So the forces are the creative element in the Akashic Tarot, the bird's nest, expansion, right? Creativity and expansion. It's a time to start focusing on new things, right? You have these two cycles that are ending in terms of creativity, expansion, and fire, and then the discs, the wealth, the material aspects, the actual nest itself. It is time to start focusing on new things. It is, and we have to build the nest, right? We have to actually put a little bit of effort into it. It's not just going to be built for us, but we have everything we need, right? We've accumulated everything we need. We've come to a point of culmination, and now it's time to build a space for something new to come in. Widen our network of family, widen our network of friends, widen our network of spiritual community, widen our network of our, anybody that we're engaged with creatively, specifically. And when we're talking about Pisces, this is everything. This is everything. But we have to create a space for something new to come in, because what is the newness? Well, that's Aries, isn't it? And we're going to come to the equinox in a month. So right now our focus and our awareness is on creating and expanding this space. Now, the root and our personal power right now is coming from our inspiration. The muse, number 15, 1 + 5 is 6, another harmonious aspect. Now, this requires our participation. We have to allow the inspiration to flow through us. This is a little bit easier when the sun is in Pisces, if we are not feeling like a victim, if we are very conscious and aware of this process, we can allow this inspiration to move through us. And so there's heightened resources, there's more inventiveness, there's just access to more inspiration in order to create at the root of our personal power here and in our subconscious. So this is something we can really tap into right now, especially with the sun in Pisces, right? We can be inspired by everything we see at the market, right? We've brought our own product, so to speak, to the farmer's market. But as we go around, we can be inspired by what other people have done, because we are now all co-mingling. That is the first degree of Pisces, is the closing of accounts, but at the same time allowing ourselves to engage with everybody else's closing of accounts, and we're all in that together. And this is the inspiration that we can find at the root of our personal power, and that moves through the ability into expanding and creating a space for something new. Because we are headed to the Lovers, right? Number 6, another 6. Okay, this is harmonious, but requires participation on our part, right? These are two opposing and opposite energies, the Gemini energies, the twins, one foot in the past, one foot in the future, right? The feminine and masculine, the yin and the yang, the dark and the light, all of the, however you want to characterize it. Not only are they coming together and recognizing themselves in each other, it is being sanctioned, as you can see, by, a much larger spiritual force. You have the Cupid with the arrow, so there is love and devotion here, and you have the egg. Look at that, the cosmic egg with the snake wrapped around it as well. There is some serious newness that's coming in, and really we're creating a space and being inspired to come together, right? Venus and Mars coming together, Sun and Moon coming together. Now, it's interesting that tomorrow what we're going to find is Venus squaring Mars and the Sun squaring the Moon. So the tension as these energies are going to face off is going to be very interesting. So we need to really embody this now, right? So when the tension comes, we remember why we did this in the first place, right? It's just like any relationship. When you're having issues in any relationship, when you can, revert back to the basic elements of why you came together and the devotion that surrounds it, it really helps to ease the tension and to learn something from that tension rather than to be negatively impacted or not learn, right? And just to keep reinforcing that square, right? That T-bone. That's what's going to happen tomorrow. Venus is going to square Mars and the Sun's going to square the Moon in Gemini. So this is a moment here that we can really come together and be mindful of what we are doing and why, right? Devotion, making a decision, saying farewell to a former life, right? The 10, these cycles coming around, the Sun entering Pisces, where we are just now, absorbed by the collective, and offering ourselves to the collective process. And it's a full acceptance of this coming together and this love. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't have to be a person. It's just a devotion and a fulfillment of some decision, right? Something you want to devote to, right? It can be a person. It can be a project. It can be a relationship. It can be an idea. It can be any number of things, any dream that you've ever had. So, but it's also a peaceful combination of existing contrast, right? Diplomacy as opposed to war or squaring off, which is, again, we're going to need this tomorrow, I think, when Venus squares Mars and the Sun squares the Moon, because there's going to be much more of a tension here. So the outcome here, right, is this card, though, this Lover's card, the devotion and the decision to come together, okay? And to allow these cycles to play out and to see everything that we've learned from them, see all of the riches that are manifesting and unfolding through all the work that we've done, and realize that in this moment, this is about being inspired to utilize everything that we have learned and culminated in these cycles to expand on a space for something new to come in. And it's going to be through this devotion and these coming together in this unification. And it's different than Sagittarius, right? The North Node is in Gemini. There are distinct aspects that are coming together. It's not a merging, which is going to be interesting considering that the Sun is in Pisces, right? We're just, just absorbed into it. our fulfillment and our creative expression and who we are gets absorbed into the collective. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic to consider. So remember why you, tomorrow specifically, remember the devotion and the decision you made. This is also where that Orion starseed trait comes in, about being able, this is where the Orions really shine, because they can come together and face, each other and master their willpower to be in one position or the other, but they can still identify that the opposite position is equal and opposite. That doesn't make it any less valid to take a position opposite. It just means that you've identified that you are in that position. This is how the Hegelian dialectic works, right? Problem, reaction, solution is the Sagittarius aspect. Well, we're coming away from that, right? The North Node is in Gemini. This is the direction of our soul's evolution, where we're being pulled to is this. So it's okay to have the opposing viewpoint and position when we identify that we come together with that opposing viewpoint and position, and see ourselves in it, but also see ourselves sovereign as well. So when we are talking about this creative expansion, the bird's nest, the spiritual community, the 8 of Roses, it's time to rejoin your family. It's time to rejoin your spiritual community. It is time to, this is really what we're expanding space for, is for the Sangha, the community. And it's time to connect with like-minded people and create a space for that in your life. It's important that we're doing this in the face of this, bifurcation that is going to eventually lead to unification and a creation of something new. But there has to be this split. And it's been here for a while, and it will continue to be here. But creating this container allows us to go back into these communities, to find connection, to find love, to find understanding, right? Again, this Pisces energy, it feels very connected to this. It's very beautiful, and it's very, protective as well. There is kind of a Cancer element here too. But the spiritual community, or the Sangha, there's a lot of different, it doesn't matter what you actually believe, like what is the container for your own spiritual beliefs. It's the idea that there are people, oh my God. Wow, I never even noticed that before. Oh, wow. If you look next to the Buddha and you look at the candle, it's got a Masonic symbol. Wow. Oh, I don't even know what to say about that. That is, oh boy. Honestly, let's just put it in there, because, and it's not to say that this really fits into that Draco starseed transmission from yesterday, right? Because there are those who came through as Draco starseeds that came here to awaken, right? And to utilize their own unique traits for good. And you will find that people that may have identified with this particular path may wake up and realize where they have been deceived and been deceiving other people. Interesting. Wow, that's a whole different, it's a whole different thing. Okay, but the point is, I never noticed that before, so there's a reason I'm noticing it now. The point is that we want to bring together like-minded people, find support, find community, and along with that is the cardinal is about the balance, right? Again, so we're talking about the polarities of spiritual pursuit, physical pleasures, right? Here's more Gemini energy. Do whatever you need to do to bring them back into equilibrium. You don't want to be on one side too much or the other side too much. You want to make sure that you are in balance with that, because you can't get too heady, right? You can't get too much into the spiritual aspect or too much into taking that very seriously. And we'll see here about that. But you also don't want to be totally immersed in the world of the physical and the senses, because that's where you go down the dark path, right? When that's all you have. And I would say that ultimately, ultimately, that is the path that you walk down in terms of Freemasonry. It may not seem like that at first, but by the time you get to the point where you realize that you are so well entrenched that there's no really getting out of it. So, but this is much more about finding the balance. And so if you are familiar with Barbara Marciniak and Bringers of the Dawn and how she channels the Pleiadians, one of the messages that has always come through and still now is coming through is, find joy in your life, right? Be able to find joy and have gratitude. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your relationships. Don't miss opportunities to interact with people in real time, right? We are so immersed in our screens and digital connection. And granted, that is amazing to even have that as an option, but that is not a substitute for actually getting together with people energetically and even physically. And so again, bringing the polarities of these two aspects together is really going to help create an actual space for these spiritual communities and these like-minded individuals where we are going to go and get support from, and that we can support each other. I worked with a client yesterday. I did some really strong shamanic energy work. And one of the things we talked about is that, the light workers right now, we need to be supporting each other because we have to do the light work, right? And the star seeds, we have to come together and support each other right now. And again, Sun in Pisces, this can be a beautiful time for that, to come together, support each other within spiritual community and whatever you believe, right? As long as you are identified with some sort of connection to source, right? And universal law, whatever that means to you, we can come together and support each other. But we can't do that if we are out of balance and we're too, caught up in the spiritual and not allowing ourselves to enjoy life on earth, right? That moon in Taurus, enjoy your senses, allow yourself to enjoy the physical world, right? And that's a very strong Pleiadian thing, right? Taurus is where the Pleiades are. So allow yourself that ability. And this goes to your relationships, in your actual emotional, physical relationships, okay? Now, when it comes to inspiration, keep your sense of humor and don't take things too seriously. Again, we can be really inspired by this. In the sense that we can be flexible, we can be adaptable, right? That's a Gemini trait as well. Laughter, right? Balance, self-care, right? We are going to be inspired so much more when we can be humorous and relax a little bit and not take things too seriously. Again, that balance between the physical, sensual aspects of life and the spiritual aspects. If we are too caught in that part of it, we're going to miss out on actually living and being connected to the physical planet, which is essential to this process. So again, flexibility, humor, laughter, being agile, right? In a mental way is really going to allow us to connect way more into being inspired. And keep in mind that the Ark of the Covenant, right? These two people, look at what they're doing. They're sitting down, they're around a fire, they're taking a rest. Taking a break doesn't mean that you've let go of your contract, your sacred contract, your contract to your higher self. It means you're taking care of yourself. It means that you are sitting on the ground, right? That you are in conversation with people that you care about and that you trust. And we are facing our lessons of growth. And sometimes the best way to do that is through the interaction in our relationships. I mean, relationships are the container for our soul's growth and our soul work, right? That's where it really happens. It really doesn't happen as much as it does within the context of relationships. So keep in mind that part of your soul's contract and your contract with your higher self, your contract with the sacred work, right? It's not going anywhere if you take care of yourself and that you laugh and you have some humor in your life and you're adaptable and you are creating a space for this community to come together, whatever that means for you. It's really important that we are taking care of ourselves and that we are supporting each other right now. Because there's going to be plenty of time really soon, like tomorrow into the 20th when Mercury stations direct, where there's going to be more challenge and more work to do. And it'll be important that we come back to that Lover's card, that devotion, right? The decision to devote ourselves to something, to say goodbye to the old life. But that doesn't mean that we don't take care of ourselves, that we don't laugh, that we don't enjoy life and each other. Okay, this is the benefit of the sun in Pisces, is to allow ourselves to offer ourselves to the collective in a way where we can share. It's really what it is, sharing our energy, feeling compassion, forgiveness, universal love. So that's the transmission for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. I'll put that reading back up just for a few minutes. If you find this content beneficial or helpful, please consider subscribing. Either if you're watching this on YouTube or on BitChute, hitting that like button. That definitely helps get the information out there and to other people that are also going to find it helpful, and it helps build this community as well. If you're interested in a reading, everything you need is in the description box below. Please join us on Telegram. Super fun over there. We get chats going. You can also join on Facebook as well, and emails in the description box, websites in the description box. Reach out for a reading if you're interested in your starseed lineage and traits, and you want to get a deeper look on why you're here and what you're here to do, and a deeper understanding of your soul's evolution. You can book through the website. You just go to the services tab, pick out a service, and it sends a message and we get it going. And you get a video just like this, where I go through all of the aspects of your individual soul's matrix and what you're here to, who you're here to be and how you're here to grow. So I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here. Please take good care of yourselves. Take care of each other, right? And I will see you tomorrow.